Welcome in, NFL Daily. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us as you guys file in. Shout out your favorite team, and we'll shout you out and give you some love here on the show. As I check in on the comment section, let us know who your team is, and we'd love to show you some love. I see XD Gamer 22 says, make a Jags channel. Maybe someday, XD Gamer 22. I think that would be low on our totem pole of priorities, but thanks anyway. Let's see. Lore says, asking about the 49ers for our mailbag. I got Corey asking about the Niners as well. Sardano Short says Eagles. Lore says Eagles. Rashad Lee says Cowboys. Just Jackson says Seahawks. Good to see a Seahawks fan in here. Eric shouts out the Giants. Justin says 12 for the 12s. XGamer22 says Ravens. XGamer22, are you a Ravens or a Jags fan? Which one are you? Make up your mind. Can't have two teams either, by the way. Rashad Lee, Cowboys. I got Pocus says Cowboys. Corey says 49ers. Cooper says Patriots. Sardano says Eagles. Jeff says the Browns. Vince says Cowboys. XD Gamer 22 Ravens. Lennon says KC, baby. Chiefs Kingdom in the house. Bryce says Eagles. Rashad Lee says Cowboys. Just Jackson says Seahawks. SD Gamer says Ravens. Cooper says Patriots. Stick Gorilla says Jets. Andrew Tripp says Seahawks. Vince says Cowboys. JJ Insight says Raiders. I also got Sedano saying Eagles. XD Gamer says default from. Which one is it, XD Gamer? Which one are you, a Ravens or Jags fan? Come on, my guy. He got called out. Now he's deleting comments. Imagine that. And then I see Rashad Lee says Eagles suck. Brother John says go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? I got Lennon that says back-to-back Super Bowls is happening for Kansas City. Christian is a Cardinals fan. We're going to be talking about Kyler Murray plenty today. XD Gamer, you're a fraud. I can't give you love for putting two teams in there. That's a party foul. Mr. Weston says Cowboys as well. I will now bring in my partner in crime today, making his debut on NFL Daily. It is Seahawk fan extraordinaire, Tyler Smith. We call him Smitty around here because you can't have two Tylers. It's got to be one way or the other. XD Gamer is now trying to backtrack, saying it was a joke, Tyler. Yeah. Well, it wasn't very funny. So, not so great on your part, XD Gamer. Glad to have you with us, though. But Tyler Smith, Smitty, a big-time Seahawk fan. Folks, give Smitty a warm welcome in the chat. I see Mr. Weston says, hi, Tyler. No. I'm Tyler. He's Smitty. We're making that very clear. We can't have Tyler squared around here. But Smitty, welcome in to NFL Daily.
I'm doing good.
Can you put yourself on screen here?
Yeah, I'm trying. I gotta fix the name badge up top. We should have done that beforehand, but I will be on screen in just a second here.
Everybody spam Smitty in the chat and give him a warm welcome as he makes his debut here on NFL Daily. You'll hear from him from time to time on today's show. And give him some love. As I mentioned, he is a Seahawks fan. He's with me from time to time on Seahawks Today as well as our other channels. He's pushing the buttons on the ones and twos, making this show happen. And I already see people are already shouting out Smitty here. I see Vince says, I smashed that like button for that How About Them Cowboys so hard. Love it. Mr. Weston says, sup, Smitty. X Savage says, hi, Tyler. JJ Insights says, Smitty. Lore shouting out Smitty. Sardano says Smitty as well. So everybody giving a nice warm welcome, a greeting to a Smitty. There we go. Now we can put him on
how
the
we
screen.
Doing?
There's what he looks like.
Boys?
He's up there. That is Smitty. Smitty, welcome to NFL Daily.
I'm feeling very welcome. I appreciate everybody in the chat right now. Happy to be pushing the ones and twos on NFL Live today. It's going to be a great show, so keep spamming in the chat. Appreciate the welcomes. Let me hear your NFL team.
People know me, but tell a little bit about yourself, Smitty. Introduce yourself to the audience. I mentioned you're a Seahawk fan, but you're so much more than that.
Appreciate that. Yes, I am a Seahawks fan. I have been for the vast majority of my life. And I just graduated from a small school in Western New York, out by Buffalo. For any Bills fans out there, St. Bonaventure University. Big-time college hoops there, so I'm a big college hoops fan. Obviously, big sports fan in general. Big basketball fan, big NFL, college football, MLB. college hoops for sure.
I want to do Smitty a favor. He's been kind of shadow banned by Twitter. And so I'm going to put his Twitter link in the chat, and I want you guys to give Smitty a follow.
Hey, I appreciate that, Tyler.
Show him some love. Give him a warm introduction from the NFL Daily audience. So here is Smitty's Twitter. It is going in the chat right now. Give Smitty a follow, and I'm sure he'll show you some love one way or the other if you give him a follow there. His Twitter's there, and you can slide into his DMs over there if you got any questions for
Absolutely.
Smitty. Shout out, we've been asking you to shout out your favorite team. Let me ask you this. Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott each have new homes. Ezekiel Elliott going to the New England Patriots. Dalvin Cook going to the New York Jets. Who is going to have a better season in 2023? What's interesting about both these guys, Smitty, is we know that they are going to have to split up their workloads.
Yeah.
Zeke is going to be the number 2 to Ramondre Stevenson. Dalvin Cook, he and Breece Hall, I think, are going to be more kind of 1A, 1B of sorts there with that organization. I would lean towards Dalvin Cook, but I like the role for Ezekiel Elliott of being the number 2 back and being the short yardage guy. I think this is a situation that's going to work out well for both guys.
I absolutely agree. I mean, you look at Zeke's situation on the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson provides so much more than the archetype that Zeke is. You know, they really bounce off each other well. He's a short yardage guy, in between the tackles runner. Ramondre Stevenson could do that too, but he brings so much more to the NFL field these days. Great receiving back, super elusive. His one-cut ability is very good as well. Dalvin Cook, kind of the same thing. Very, very efficient in the passing game. He's getting up there in age, obviously, so his first cut, first step ability has dwindled a tad, but I think he could be a great role model and influence to Breece Hall, especially coming off an ACL, kind of alleviate the pressure in that backfield in New York. So I think both these guys kind of ended up in the ideal situations for them at this point in their careers.
Joe says Ezekiel Elliott. Vince says Ezekiel Elliott. Kyle says Cook has a better offense around him and Breece Hall. That's true, Kyle. Good point there. Brother John says Dalvin Cook. Eric says Dalvin Cook. Just Jackson says Dalvin Cook. Donald says Dalvin Cook as well. So the majority of the votes coming for Dalvin Cook so far from the comment section. Hi says, I say Tyler Jones. We're going to have a great season here on NFL Daily. Myself and Tyler Smith, we're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to have a great season no matter what. So no question about it. Will it be as good as Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott? Hope so. We shall see. Next question that we have for you here. We're going to talk a lot about Kyler Murray today and the potential possibility of trading Kyler Murray, as there's a new report from ESPN's Dan Graziano that we'll get to coming up that suggests that the Cardinals are looking at making a move on Kyler Murray. But there is one stipulation, one point that needs to be worth noting here, Smitty. It's not now, it's looking at next year on the trade for Kyler Murray. And we asked you guys our poll question today, will the Cardinals trade Kyler Murray after this year? 66% of you say yes, 34% say no. Weigh in, tell us what you think in the chat, share your thoughts. Why for yes, in for no, if the Cardinals should trade Kyler Murray this year. I have my opinions on the situation, and I'll explain where I'm coming from when we get to the segment coming up in just a second. But Smitty, want to get your thoughts here before I share mine later. Share yours with the folks out there. The Kyler Murray situation, he's being paid a lot of money, former Pro Bowl quarterback and everything. But next year, the Cardinals are going to be sitting there more than likely with a chance to get either Caleb Williams or Drake May, one of the two. I'm looking at for Arizona where, it's tempting to look at those quarterbacks, but who's going to take on Kyler Murray's contract either? It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think Kyler Murray, as much as a Seattle fan, I'm not a fan of his. I do think he's limited. Do I think he could win a Super Bowl? That's yet to be seen. I don't think he's really reached his full potential yet. Keep in mind, this guy's only been in the league 5 years. I know that's kind of where we want to judge quarterbacks on where their trajectory will be the rest of their career. But Kyler Murray has shown that he can make big plays on the field. So I'm not completely out on Kyler Murray yet, but Caleb Williams is a kind of a can't-miss prospect, as well as Drake May. So if you can get that kind of pro-style quarterback with a cannon arm and real good accuracy like Caleb Williams, and you're in that position, I feel like you have to pull the trigger at that point. It's unfortunate for Kyler, but there's other teams in the NFL that are looking for an established quarterback. Think of a team like the Packers, like they have an established aging roster. They could be in the market for a quarterback that's not exactly a rookie, not exactly looking to build for 5
already
years
out of
and
Jordan
win.
Love, too.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love is a guy who we've seen, unfortunately, not start for the first few years of his career. Now he's going to be thrown into the fire after Rodgers departs. If he's not having a great season, so they could be in that market for a quarterback like Kyler Murray as well.
We'll talk about it more. I got some opinions on this. I'll say, just to kind of give a tease for later, this is a messy situation. When you factor in the contract of trying to get rid of Kyler Murray, as well as go with a younger quarterback and then paying that guy, there is a lot of moving parts. Cardinals have time to figure this out, but this won't be easy, to say the least. The majority of the chat saying yes. Vince, John, Jackson, Weston, Donald, and others all saying yes as far as that the Cardinals will trade Kyler Murray after this season. A couple more questions here for you before we get this show started here. Where will Kareem Hunt sign in free agency? We're going to be talking about him coming up later as well. And Smitty, this is a guy that with Dalvin off the board now, with Zeke off the board, he's kind of the last one remaining at this point in time that we're waiting to see where he goes.
Yeah, it's a weird situation with Kareem Hunt because now we see in the NFL that a lot of teams are in the market for cheap options at the running back position, not trying to pay as much. You saw that Kareem Hunt, and we'll talk about it a little bit, that he took a visit to the Colts, who are kind of in a standoff with Jonathan Taylor right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they make a move for him, kind of signaling to Jonathan Taylor like they can go, he's replaceable perhaps, and for that organization. So I'm not sure exactly where Kareem Hunt's going to sign. It's going to be probably to one of the teams that he's visited, if I had to guess. But whoever gets him, we'll see. He hasn't really shown that he's the same player that he was in Kansas City or that first year in Cleveland for the past couple of years or so. So it's going to be interesting. He's aging, but he's still a viable option.
He is. Other options here. Pass says Minnesota would be nice. Lore says the Bills.
Yeah, he visited Minnesota.
Brother John says the Cowboys. Cameron says the Bills. Pass says Hunt deserves to be a starter. I'm not sure if I don't think he's going to be a starter at this point in his career.
I don't think there's many starters in the NFL anymore. Think about how many teams in this league are running a real committee. There's not many bell cow backs, but you think about your Josh Jacobs, your Derrick Henrys, your Jonathan Taylors, your Saquon Barkleys. But even a guy like Christian McCaffrey is in a backfield committee with Elijah Mitchell and whoever else blossoms out of there.
Right.
So it's not the same NFL
no,
that
it
we
isn't.
saw
You
10
have to have
years
multiple
ago.
running backs.
Yeah.
Ilona says, I'm here. Good to see you again, Tyler. Ilona, we missed you on our Seahawks watch party the other night. She was DMing me on Instagram right before we went live. Like, we're going to have Ilona here tonight. No, she didn't show up. Good to see you, Ilona. What else we got here? One more question for you.
Sure.
And then we got to get going here. Who will be the NFL MVP? Let's ask you that question. Patrick Mahomes seems like the obvious answer, but there are others to consider. Could this be the year Josh Allen or Joe Burrow break through potentially and be the MVP? Could we see another position player potentially step up? Is this a year a defensive player finally breaks through and wins the MVP? Real quick, let me ask you this, Smitty. If you had to name a guy other than Patrick Mahomes, who will be the MVP? Who would you name?
It's interesting. I have a hot take this year that the Bills take a step back to where they've been as far as regular season play goes the past couple of years. So I don't think it'd be a Josh Allen. If I had to make a pick, give me Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I think if he's healthy, that offense is so tailored for him to succeed. Zach Taylor, another bright offensive mind in this league. I think Joe Burrow has a serious chance. But hey, don't rule out Lamar Jackson's second MVP award with the amount of passing volume that he'll have in Tom Monken's offense.
I'm going to disagree with you completely on the Bills. I think that the Bills did a really good job this offseason, and it's time for Josh Allen to show what he's made.
Sure, absolutely is. It's kind of put
Josh
up a shut-up
Allen,
time.
this should be a year he wins MVP. If it's not Mahomes, the next thing we should be saying is Josh Allen, because he's already being pushed behind Joe Burrow. And if you want to keep falling back, you got to do something. Also, the internet's favorite quarterback, Justin Herbert.
Sure.
Justin Herbert's got a lot of talent around him. I know that he's got a maniac for a head coach. But Justin Herbert, why is Justin Herbert not contending for the MVP? Justin Herbert should be another name.
Because he plays in a pretty unfortunate division.
I mean, there's more than that. It's not just the Chiefs that have been their problem.
Yeah.
So
Injuries are their problem pretty often.
That too. It's a very good point. Let's show the folks what's coming up on today's show.
Sure.
Latest NFL news and rumors. We'll talk about Kyler Murray. We will also talk about Kareem Hunt and Chris Jones. We have a mailbag coming up later. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. We'll also take a look at the top free agents remaining after Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott signed. And I have 5 blockbuster trade ideas of some potential moves that we could see before the season begins. I'll give those ideas coming up later. Also, we are doing a team super chat battle today. These were our top 4 teams last week on the show. And basically how it works is that throughout the show today, when you send in a super chat to get that screen time and have your avatar and your profile featured on the screen here, let us know who your team is, and we'll add that to your team's tally. Could be any of the 32 teams in the NFL. And basically what will happen is, as we go throughout today's show, we will add that number to your team's total and see what fan base comes out on top. The Vikings got the win last week, courtesy of the pass master. Seahawks had a decent performance. Ravens weren't bad. Raider Nation finished top 4, didn't get the win, though. Raider Nation, I thought there was only one nation. Vikings came to play last week, the Little Skull. So we'll see what team steps up and wins our Super Chat battle among the fan bases here on today's show. Smitty, we all set? We ready to go? All right. We'll get after it. Segment 1, NFL news and rumors ahead here on this Tuesday edition of NFL Daily Live. Tyler Jones, Tyler Smith here with you. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us. It is NFL Daily by Chat Sports. We are talking about a possible trade involving Kyler Murray. Also, the latest on Kareem Hunt. Where could he end up? And Chris Jones. Things are getting interesting as far as his future goes with the Kansas City Chiefs. Is he going to play or not? Is he going to get traded? We'll discuss all of that on today's show. Let's begin with Kyler Murray. ESPN's Dan Graziano is predicting the Cardinals will trade Kyler Murray after the 2023 season. Not right now, but after this season concludes. The expectation for the Arizona Cardinals this upcoming season is not very high, as this team has completely unloaded of sorts. New head coach, new GM, and they look totally different from what they were last season. So what does that mean for Kyler Murray coming off this ACL injury in his future? We know he got paid a ton of money last offseason. Will he stick around? More from Graziano. Listen to this. After Murray takes at least a little while, maybe even a long while, to come back, the Cardinals finish with one of the league's worst records in 2023 and draft either Caleb Williams from USC or North Carolina's Drake May. They have to find a solution to the Kyler Murray contract problem next offseason, ideally convincing some other team to take him off their hands and help defray the dead money costs as Arizona moves on to a future without him. Now, with that said, I understand. I love Caleb Williams and I love Drake May both, and I think they're both going to be fantastic quarterbacks at this next level, and they're 2 of the best quarterback prospects we've seen in a very long time. But what do we say around here, folks? It's all about the Benjamins. It is going to be very difficult, I think, to justify, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, of taking on whatever dead cap hit Kyler Murray comes with and sending him elsewhere when he could still be a Pro Bowl quarterback as far as we know. I know last year didn't go his way, but he was still very good in his previous seasons and getting to the playoffs and those Pro Bowl appearances, not to mention I thought he had an incompetent head coach in Cliff Kingsbury there the last few years and still succeeded, was still successful. I think Kyler Murray can be a top quarterback in this league and has shown some flashes here. You've committed all that money to him. I like Caleb Williams and I like Drake May, but this is a problem that the Cardinals have on their hands of trying to get out of this situation they've put themselves in with Kyler Murray here. I think it's kind of easier said than done. I know Graziano and some of these others are already writing off Kyler Murray as if his time in Arizona is guaranteed to come to an end. I understand, and you can see where the Cardinals are coming from, maybe wanting to reset the clock at that quarterback position. But the money there that they've committed, I think it's going to be hard for them to get out. So I actually personally lean towards that they're going to keep Kyler Murray and that they will use that draft pick on something else, or they'll trade down, get multiple picks, whatever it may be in their situation. What do you guys think? Our pinned comment today. Should the Cardinals trade Kyler Murray after this season? Weigh in, tell us what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Cardinals trade Kyler Murray or not? Tell us what you think in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no. So the next domino to fall in the free agent running back sweepstakes is Kareem Hunt. We already know about Dalvin Cook heading to the New York Jets and Ezekiel Elliott going to the New England Patriots. Now we await where Kareem Hunt could end up, as he recently visited the Saints, Colts, and the Vikings. And did you know, last week, the Saints were expected to sign Kareem Hunt, but that fell through after the Colts called Kareem Hunt with a more lucrative offer. Now, ultimately, he didn't sign with the Colts either, so we're still kind of playing the waiting game at this point. With that said, if all things are equal between those three teams, if I'm Kareem Hunt trying to find somewhere to go, the Vikings have the best chance to win among those teams, and you pair him up with Alexander Mattison there, I think you have a good duo there. You would have a very good run game. I know the Vikings are going to pass the football a whole lot with Kirk Cousins and company, but Kareem Hunt being a number two back and a rotational piece, I think that can work and could be a very good fit for him. Kareem Hunt, he's not a starting running back anymore. We saw him lead the league in rushing that rookie season in Kansas City, and he's had a decent career. He's had some problems off the field of sorts over the years, but Kareem Hunt, I think Minnesota, that's the one that makes the most sense to me. So what do you guys think? Where will Kareem Hunt sign in free agency? Is it going to be one of those three teams like Indianapolis, New Orleans, Minnesota, or is it going to be somebody else? You know, I think Minnesota can be a playoff contending team. I'm out on the Saints. I don't think the Saints are worth anything at all, and the Colts are right at the bottom. They might be one of the worst teams in the league this upcoming season. Weigh in. Tell us where you think in the comment section Kareem Hunt is ultimately going to sign. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily, you will get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet with that promo code NFL Daily. And odds for the NFL MVP this upcoming season, no surprise, the reigning MVP and Super Bowl champion quarterback Patrick Mahomes, the favorite at plus 650. Joe Burrow at plus 750. Josh Allen at plus 800. Jalen Hurts, I think there's some good value there in Jalen Hurts, plus 900. Justin Herbert, too, at plus 1,200. You can get those bets in, as well as bets in Major League Baseball. Maybe you want to bet on some UFC or NASCAR, soccer, whatever it may be. All at the same place. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily to get your bets in now. Still waiting. What is going to happen with Chris Jones? Chris Jones, one of the league's best defensive tackles, is still waiting on a new deal of sorts as he's been holding out. The Chiefs are getting close to wrapping up their training camp and still no end in sight at this point when it comes to the negotiations with Chris Jones and with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we've seen the Chiefs have not been afraid to move on from stars before. Remember last offseason they said goodbye to Tyreek Hill, and they were just fine. So are they going to give Chris Jones this deal or not? And will he be traded before the season begins? Here's what you need to know right now. According to reports from Nate Taylor of The Athletic, who does a great job covering the Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor is reporting the Chiefs are unwilling to make Jones the highest paid defensive tackle in the league. That title belongs to Aaron Donald, who's making $30+ million. And then Quentin Williams is behind him, making $24+ million this upcoming season. According to the same report from Nate Taylor, Jones wants to be the second highest paid defensive tackle. He's not looking to get the $30 million that Aaron Donald is getting, but he'd like to get more than Quentin Williams. Andy Reid today, when speaking to the media at Chiefs camp in St. Joe, Missouri, was asked about Jones and said, look, I got no update at this point. There's no new news on where this situation is as far as Chris Jones goes and a new deal where things stack up at this point in time. And we mentioned Aaron Donald being the highest paid defensive tackle. His number this upcoming season, $31.6 million. So Jones not looking to necessarily get that, but you'd have to think somewhere in that range, that $24 to $31 million range is what he's looking at, and he and the Chiefs are still nowhere near close to a deal where things stand right now. I would expect that the Chiefs and Chris Jones probably get something done, but as the days go on, certainly wonder what his future is going to be like in Kansas City. So let's get a little Jonesy now. Will the Chiefs trade Chris Jones? What do you think? Is a deal going to get done, or are they going to ultimately move on from him? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comments section. Will the Chiefs trade Chris Jones or not? Type T for trade. Type K for keep. Weigh in. Tell us what you think. Is a trade going to happen, or is he back in Kansas City? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Folks, we here at Chat Sports are your one-stop shop for all things NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and more. We are talking about all those sports each and every day here on the channel. For the latest happenings, this is the channel for you as we're talking sports like no one else does here at Chat Sports. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Turn on notifications so you stay up to date with the latest happenings. We got you covered here on Chat Sports. All right. So that is one segment down, 3 to go. Mailbag coming up in just a second. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the Mailbag segment that we'll be bringing you here in just a few moments from right now. But let's continue to ask you guys, will the Chiefs trade Chris Jones or not? The consensus says that they will keep him. Donald, Jackson, Elona, Lore, AT all say keep. AT says not enough depth. Got to love the hype. Just wasn't going to do preseason either way. And that could be a point, too. You know, Chris Jones might be just using this as a way to avoid training camp practices and all. But I would expect, here's what I think is going to happen. Here's my prediction on this, Smitty. Very curious what you think here. I think that the Chiefs don't get a deal with Chris Jones done now, but he still comes back and plays at the start of this season, and maybe negotiations continue or they carry on to the next offseason. But I think Chris Jones will be there long term, but I'm not expecting him to get traded or for a deal to get done either anytime soon.
I think Kansas City is in a position where worst comes to worst, they let him walk after the year. Like they have won so much.
They have the leverage here.
They have all the leverage. They are the most well-run organization in the NFL. Chris Jones has already won a ton with them. They're in the best position out of any other team to win another Super Bowl this year. So will Kansas City really be that upset if they have another deep playoff run, potentially another Super Bowl win with Chris Jones on the field? I think they'd be okay with letting him go after the fact, if that is the case.
Checking in on the chat here, you guys are all saying that he's going to stay in Kansas City. Ilona says, of course, keep Chris Jones. Yodan says KC keeping Chris Jones as well. Seems to be the consensus there. Smitty, we need some more questions, don't we, for this mailbag segment? Folks, if you want to get involved and send in a question, hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on this mailbag segment, and we'll answer whatever you guys got. In particular, I want to talk some trade ideas. If you guys got some trade stuff that you want to send our way, then go ahead and send that in. I see a lot of people in the chat, Ilona, Vince, Donald, Kyle, John, among others here. Get your questions in, and we will go through those. And how this mailbag will work, Super Chats will get the priority. So if you send in a Super Chat, your question will get answered first before we get to the others. So hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and we'd love to hear from you guys as we do our mailbag segment coming up in just a few moments. We'll go about 8 to 10 minutes on this segment. So, guys, go ahead as we are just about ready to get started with this mailbag segment. Send in your questions, and we'd love to hear from you as we get started. Our second of 4 segments today. Later on, we're going to talk about top free agents remaining. Also, we have blockbuster trade ideas as well that we'll be bringing you. Evan, GM Evan there, I see that you have sent in the proper response with the hashtag NFL. So good job there. Thanks for using the hashtag NFL appropriately. I see who else? Ilona, good job. Vince, good job. Sweet. I think we got plenty of questions. I think we're just about ready to get started on NFL Daily here. We all squared away here, Smitty? All right. Without further ado, segment number 2, mailbag time here on NFL Daily. Let's go ahead and get started with our second segment of the afternoon. Folks, you may be wondering, how do I get to be a part of a mailbag on NFL Daily? Well, if you subscribe to the channel, you can join our weekly live shows that we bring you on Tuesday afternoons. And if you turn on notifications, you'll be notified when we go live. That way, you too can use the hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions on the show, and we'll answer them in real time. Subscribe now and join us for our next live mailbag here on NFL Daily. First question comes from Vince. Vince wants to know, hashtag NFL, should the Texans or Bears trade their quarterback if Stroud/Fields performs well, but they still end up with the number 1 pick from Cleveland or Carolina? Very fair, good question. Let's start with Houston's side of things. I think that if they see any promise out of C.J. Stroud, they're going to go ahead and go forward with C.J. Stroud, and that they'll trade that number 1 pick to try to get some draft capital or that top pick, whatever it may be, and build from there. As far as Justin Fields goes, I'll put it to you this way, folks. If he performs well, then they're not going to be picking in that position. They're not going to be in a spot to get a Caleb Williams or a Drake May to begin with. Okay? If they're in that position, then Justin Fields hasn't played well. That's where the talent level increase with the Chicago Bears is, that if Fields does well and does his part, that means everybody else is doing well as on top of that, and they're headed towards the right direction. So with that said, the only way that the Bears or the Texans move on from Stroud and Fields is if they struggle. Then they very well could end up in a position where they get one of those top quarterbacks. So that's where I look at it. I don't see either team moving on from their guy if they play well, but we'll see. Donald with the next question. Donald writes, if the Bears' O-line is at least adequate protecting him, what is Justin Fields' ceiling? I think when you look at Justin Fields, call me crazy, but I'm looking at his ceiling being similar to what Jalen Hurts did last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Call that a hot take, whatever you want. As Justin Fields, or Jalen Hurts last year was the runner-up for the MVP and led the Eagles to the Super Bowl and had one of the best Super Bowl performances we've ever seen, despite his team losing. I think Justin Fields, at his ceiling, is capable to do what we saw from Jalen Hurts last year. Now, granted, Jalen Hurts had a lot more talented team around him than he did in Philadelphia. The Bears are headed the right direction, and their talent is dramatically improved over the last few months, but they're still another year away from being a serious contender. But I would say that talent level-wise, his ceiling is similar to Jalen Hurts. Timmy Turner, fairly odd parents checking in. Where's Cosmo and Wanda? If the Titans get off to a slow start, any chance they move on to Levis and trade Tannehill at the deadline? Timmy, very good question here. And from what we've heard, the Titans are taking this approach of a team like in Major League Baseball, okay? What we've heard is that the way the Titans organization is operating the 2023 season is like a baseball team of, all right, when we get to the deadline, we're going to be either buyers or sellers. Either it is a mass yard sale, we're trying to get everything off the lot, or they're going to be aggressive and they're going to make some moves to try to go contend and make a deep postseason run. It is going to be dramatic one way or the other for Tennessee, is what it sounds like the things are going on there. So with that said, what my expectation is that the Titans, if they get off to a slow start, they will trade Tannehill. They will trade Derrick Henry, probably DeAndre Hopkins too. And I don't think the Titans are going to be that great. So if I were to guess right now, I think Tannehill's getting traded. What do you guys think? Will the Titans trade Tannehill? Weigh in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Will we see Tannehill depart Tennessee during this season? Weigh in. Tell us what you think. Y for yes, N for no. Jordan D. writes, could the Falcons get another star receiver or another position to the roster before the start of the season? I think if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you kind of want to roll with what you got, these young pieces. They have a nice young core there. This is a team that should compete for the NFC South, and I think that they're the favorites in the NFC South. I have them winning that division. I don't know if the Falcons are going to make another big move or not. They might just be who they are and kind of figure things out from there. But that is a fascinating football team to watch. I think Bijan Robinson's going to have a fantastic season in 2023. I think Desmond Ridder is better than what he's given credit for personally. The Falcons are an interesting team heading into this year. Just Jackson writes in, what will the Seahawks record be if they get into the playoffs? How far will they get? So right now, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks entering 2023, this is a team at the moment that I think is about an 11-6 football team, as is. And one thing that I have to remind people is that the Seahawks, their schedule, I think personally, is in a position where you have to respect your opponent, right? The Seahawks, you might say, wow, they look like one of the top 4 teams in the NFC, but they go through a tough gauntlet of games. Their schedule is not easy. It doesn't do them any favors. And so they're going to stack up losses. They might be better than what their record indicates compared to some other teams in the NFL because of how tough that schedule is going to be for Seattle this upcoming season. With that said, I think right now, 11 wins, you could probably get to the divisional round. But if Seattle makes a big splash, if they go get a defensive star of some sorts, whether it's a defensive tackle or an edge rusher of that type, then Seattle very well could be a contender for the NFC and potentially be a 13-win football team. That might be the difference there. So they're still a player away from taking that next step. Speaking of the Seahawks, we have their hats as well as other NFL hats on sale now at chatsports.com/NFL hats. All sorts of varieties, flat bills, the ball cap style, whatever your favorite team is. We have all 32 teams and their different hat designs on sale now at chatsports.com/NFL hats. You can get yours, and you can get it in time for the NFL season as well. It's a great deal for all of our viewers of NFL Daily today. You can support your favorite team now before the season begins. Get yours today. Chatsports.com/NFL hats is where you can find these. Vince writes in, how much does the Cook and Zeke signings move the needles for their new teams? Let's start with the New York Jets and Dalvin Cook here. It is a big relief for this team. because you were just getting Breece Hall back, okay? And Breece Hall, coming off the injury and everything, we don't know what he's going to look like, but it relieves the pressure, okay, where you're not having to rush him back or overwork him of some sorts. Also, if he doesn't look like the same running back that he was before, then you have Dalvin Cook there. So it's a huge relief for this New York Jets team to have Dalvin Cook there. Meanwhile, when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott, this signing, I think, for this Patriots team just gives them another option, gives them help in the short yardage game. I think it moves the needle more for the Jets than it does the Patriots here. I think the Jets, this could be the difference in some major playoff seeding. In the case for Zeke in the Patriots here, I still think the Patriots are some major steps away from being a force to be reckoned with, if that makes sense. Elite quarterback 45. Will Hunter Renfrow get traded? If so, where will he go? Elite quarterback 45. Great question as far as Hunter Renfrow goes. Hunter Renfrow, I'll look at it this way. I think that he's actually going to stay with the Las Vegas Raiders. There's not a huge market for Hunter Renfrow. And it sounds like that the Raiders were willing to take some calls, but just weren't getting very many offers. So, the Patriots seem like a team that would make a lot of sense. They need some receiver help, and he kind of fits what they've been looking for over the years, the Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker types. He would be a good fit there, but I don't think he's leaving Las Vegas. I think they're going to hold on to him at least for this year. What about you guys? Where will Hunter Renfrow play this season? Weigh in. Tell us what you think where Hunter Renfrow is going to go, or if he's going to stay right there in Las Vegas. Tell us what you think in the comment section on Hunter Renfrow and let us know. $5 super chat coming in from AT. AT writes, similar to Michael Orr, does Kyler Murray lose trade capital if he's traded after a new Call of Duty release? Do you think random news stories affect trades? That's an interesting question, AT. As far as Kyler Murray goes, the whole Call of Duty thing is interesting to me. The fact that all his performances after a Call of Duty game are just ridiculous. You know, how much he has stepped back and underperformed when those games have been released. I think teams know that. I think they're aware. But the bigger issue is not necessarily Call of Duty, but the fact that you look at with Kyler Murray of just that contract. Who's going to take that on? I think that's the bigger issue than what he does with the video game. But it is a fascinating story as far as that goes. AT, thanks for the question. Thanks for joining us here on NFL Daily. We'll see you next time. All right, Bayou. You're a hater. I gotta put Bayou in timeout here. Goodness, man. You were on one, Bayou. Good grief. Bayou tried to come in hot, Saints fan.
Big Saints fan, it seems.
Yeah. Can't do that. Can't do that, Bayou. Not going to happen. Not in my chat, my guy.
They could have very well beat better than the Falcons, but you don't got to be like that about it.
Right? It's an opinion.
Yep.
Opinion.
We all got them.
We all got them. Saints are frauds, though. I am not high on the Saints at all. What do you think of the Saints, Smitty?
I don't know. I think that them and the Falcons have the two easiest schedules in football. And I believe I like the Saints roster, especially the offense, a little more than I like Atlanta's. Atlanta's defense they're going to be sneaky this year. They're going to hold some teams to fewer points than some people might expect. But the Saints are going to score a lot more points than people might expect. So I think at the end of the day in this NFL, that wins you regular season games. And I think that's a reason the Saints have a real good shot at winning the NFC South.
AT, let me know who your team is. We'll add that to the total for the Super Chat contest that we're doing, the team battles. throughout the day today. AT, let us know what your team is. Are you a Cardinals fan or are you somebody else? Just Jackson says Saints win the division but lose in the playoffs. I'll say this. My counterpoint, whoever wins that division, I'm not putting money on to win a playoff game.
I think
Falcons, Saints, Bucks, whoever, they're going to get a home playoff game and they'll lose that one. I'll give that to you, Just Jackson. That's my compromise of sorts. Up next, we are halfway through here on this live edition of NFL Daily.
Let's hear whatever. Listen, maybe we can get AT to tell us what their NFL team is.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat. Shout out your team. Shout out your team.
Shout out your team and let us know who you're rooting for. Coming up next, we're going to do top free agents remaining. And later on.
AT's a Chiefs fan.
AT's a Chiefs fan. Lost my Rams, so I'm not their fan.
Interesting.
Oh, sad. AT was living in Missouri and lost the Rams, became a Chief fan.
That's tough.
AT, I'd say you made a good choice. So Chiefs are on the board. Chiefs with a $5 Super Chat take the lead in our Super Chat team battle. We'll see if somebody else wants to join the fray and join the mountain. Chiefs Kingdom on top right now with a $5 Super Chat on that front. I almost want to give the spot to the St. Louis Rams. You know, like those are the days. Doesn't it feel like forever ago when the Rams left St. Louis now?
Yeah, it feels like forever ago that Jeff Fisher's.
But it wasn't that long ago, really.
It was what, 7 years ago now? 8 years ago? I think the LA Rams came about 15, 16 right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think St. Louis is ever getting a team again.
Unfortunate too, because it's a good sports city.
It is, but no one should want to live in St. Louis, though.
No, just people more so often get out of St. Louis than go to it.
Right. Just Jackson is a 12, a Seahawk fan.
Let's go 12s.
A Steeler fan. Yodan says go Eagles. Helena says Seahawks. Friendly says Colts. Let's see here. Vince says, how about them Cowboys? Ilona, AT, who's your favorite team? We already answered that. AT's team is the Chiefs. That's who AT roots for. Up next, blockbuster trade ideas. Smitty, I'll say this before we start this segment. If you think the offseason is over, you would be remiss. There are still more moves to be made before the season officially starts. We will see some trades. And just to give you a little tease, here's what we're talking about, some potential trade guys. I won't show you exactly what trades we're talking about, but let me bring up some names. Jonathan Taylor, Patrick Queen, Chase Young, Zach Wilson, Isaiah Simmons. Those are some of the names that we're going to talk about in this next segment. Smitty, who do you think is the biggest name most likely to be traded before the season begins?
I think it's got to be one of the running backs, right? I'm thinking Jonathan Taylor is up there. Jim Irsay seems like a no-nonsense kind of guy, whether that be for better or for worse. Seems like it's for worse right now, especially for the way that team's trending as far as this season goes. They got a rookie quarterback in there, so not the best outlook. I'd love to see Jonathan Taylor get traded to a contender and really vie for a playoff spot. And honestly, it'd be great to see him be the one to prove wrong. You don't need an NFL, or you don't need a running back to win a Super Bowl. I'd love to see him make a big impact on a postseason run.
Oh, I think so. Up next, we will talk trades, blockbuster trade ideas. You're not old enough to remember Blockbuster, are you?
Blockbuster, I can't say I've been in one. I've been in...
Oh, no, he's never been to a Blockbuster?
All right, so I have been in, small town mom and pop video shops. We had a spot in my hometown called Joe's Video. My grandma used to take...
Video. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I can respect that.
Good spot.
Did you go in the back room of Joe's Video?
I don't think I ever went in the back room. I think I stood in the front getting some Power Rangers DVDs.
I hear you never want to go in the back room of Joe's Video.
That's word of the street.
That's what I hear. I would probably suggest staying away. Like, you don't know what videos you're going to stumble upon.
You really don't.
Like,
glad I never got to see.
AT says, where would you get your Nintendo 64 games before you bought them? That was the other room at Joe's video store.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever played.
You've never played Nintendo 64?
No, I think my earliest Nintendo console, probably either the Game Boy or the GameCube. So
How old are you, Smitty?
I'm 22.
Okay, I'm 27. I feel like I'm 100 years older than you because I played the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever seen one in person. Funny enough.
They're quite the sight to behold, actually.
Right?
All right, so let's get after it. Coming up next, 5 blockbuster trade ideas before the NFL season kicks off. Smitty, we all set? We good to go? All right, let's get after it. On today's show, I have 5 blockbuster trade ideas before the start of the NFL season. If you think that the NFL all season is over, you would be mistaken, as there are some big moves to still be made. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our first trade idea. It involves Jonathan Taylor. And here's an idea that I have cooked up. Sending Jonathan Taylor to the Chicago Bears, and in exchange, the Bears give up a second and third round pick next year. Now, here's what I'm looking at. You talk about a potential win for both sides. The Colts are in a situation where they're just bad. Let's be real with y'all. That Colts team is maybe the worst in the entire NFL. They are resetting everything, right? They're starting over from scratch. Jonathan Taylor, despite what Jim Irsay and others may say, he doesn't fit the timeline of where the Indianapolis Colts are going at this point in time. Meanwhile, the opposite is true with the Chicago Bears. The Bears are building. They're optimistic about their future. They're looking for a huge step up in their run game. You got Khalil Herbert there, and Khalil Herbert's pretty good. He had a nice run at the University of Kansas, then went on to Virginia Tech, and now he's turned out to be a pretty decent back in the NFL. But you need another runner there. And Jonathan Taylor could be the elite runner you're looking for. This might work for both parties involved. And on top of that, I know nobody wants to pay running backs these days, but the Bears have a ton of money, a ton of cap space to spend. They could pay Jonathan Taylor. So I could see this trade working. What do you think? Does Irsay do it? Will the Colts trade Jonathan Taylor? This is our pinned comment today. Y for yes, N for no. Will we see a trade or not involving Jonathan Taylor? Weigh in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Y for yes, N for no. Another blockbuster trade idea. Straight up. Chase Young, Patrick Queen. What about this one? Let's examine this piece by piece. If we were to talk about talent level, who's the more talented player between the two? I'm leaning towards Chase Young. But the guy that's been more dependable and more reliable in his career would be Patrick Queen. And so you look at these two situations here. Commanders could use some help at linebacker. The Ravens could use some help at the defensive end spot, looking for a big-time pass rusher. Patrick Queen, we've seen him play very solid. Last year had a nice finish to the year playing alongside Roquan Smith, but the Ravens have other options potentially, including Trenton Simpson. And it doesn't seem likely that they're going to pay Patrick Queen beyond this upcoming season. Meanwhile, with Chase Young on his side of things, the former number 2 overall pick had a fantastic rookie campaign his first year there with the Washington Commanders. But then the next 2 seasons that followed, he has been very injury-riddled to this point. We haven't seen Chase Young be available. I haven't seen him play that much over these last 2 seasons. So you look at it this way. Could these 2 teams fill each other's needs here and also pay these guys long-term? That's a big question that you have to consider with both parties involved here. The numbers on Chase Young the last 3 seasons. Let's go back to what he did his rookie campaign. 44 tackles, 4 forced fumbles. He hasn't been the same the last couple seasons, but we've heard the reports out of training camp and everything that Chase Young looks like the same player that he was his rookie season, and even better than that, watch out. That could be an intriguing idea and could be a win for both sides. Which one would you rather have? Would you rather roll with Patrick Queen or would you rather roll with Chase Young? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. PQ for Patrick Queen. CY for Chase Young. Weigh in. Tell me what you think. PQ for Patrick Queen. CY for Chase Young. Today's show is sponsored by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily, you will get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. Odds are out for Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. The Chiefs, the favorites at plus 600, Eagles plus 700, Bills plus 900, 49ers and Bengals at plus 1,000. I like the value of the Bengals there at plus 1,000. That's an intriguing one to me if you're looking for a value bet. You can bet on this as well as other NFL action, whether it's Major League Baseball, UFC, boxing, NASCAR, and more, all at chatsports.com/bet. Enter that promo code NFL Daily for that 125% deposit bonus. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. Trade idea numero tres involving Trey Lance. Trey. See what I did there? Here's the possibility. This is the reality if you're the San Francisco 49ers. You gave up a whole lot for Trey Lance. We all know that. 3 first-round picks, and you're never going to get that back. That time has come and gone. You got to live with the bed you made, essentially, at this point. You are going all in on Brock Purdy. And then you got Sam Darnold there. Trey Lance didn't look great in that preseason game the other day. Sam Darnold seems to be your favorite to be your number 2 quarterback. I mean, I've said this for years, and I'll continue to reiterate. Kyle Shanahan's favorite quarterback is his next quarterback. I think they've mentally moved on from Trey Lance. And I don't think it does you any good to keep him around with him just sitting there and not trying to get at least something out of him. If you've given up on him, you might as well move on from him now. You're not going to get your return on investment. I think the Bucs could be a landing spot, could get a 4th-round pick. The Bucs looks like they're going to roll with Baker. I don't think Kyle Trask is any good, but that could give him one more shot to see if he's got something, if he could make it work. And remember, the Bucs have a pretty good quarterbacks coach in Dave Canales, their OC, who was previously the quarterbacks coach in Seattle. Maybe he could fix Trey Lance potentially. You're the Bucs. They are in salary cap hell. They got a lot of problems here. This is a risk they could potentially find themselves worth taking. Folks, anytime a trade goes down in the NFL, a big trade of some sorts, we make videos here talking about it here on NFL Daily as we cover the National Football League like no one else does. We have our live shows, daily news and rumors. We'll do our Red Zone channel throughout the season. If you are a diehard National Football League fan, we are the channel you need to be subscribed to. And the best part about it, doesn't cost you a thing. You can subscribe now for free. So turn on notifications. That way you stay up to date with all the latest happenings across the National Football League. It's covered right here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Subscribe now, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. The number 4 trade idea, Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. Did you forget Zach Wilson was still with the New York Jets? That's okay. He did play in the Hall of Fame game as these two teams actually faced off with one another. The Browns don't have an obvious answer for their backup quarterback situation where things stand right now. Zach Wilson has not looked good in his time in the NFL. Zach Wilson is a guy that I think you potentially trade for a throwaway pick, like a 6th or 7th round pick. You're probably not going to find a better player in the 6th or 7th round than Zach Wilson. It might be worth investing in. And a guy with starting experience. If something were to happen to Deshaun Watson, think about this. If you're the Cleveland Browns, okay, you are in a very competitive division. Might be the best in football. Every game matters if you're the Cleveland Browns here. What about giving up a 6th or 2nd round pick and playing a guy like Zach Wilson, get him in that system, and maybe he's the difference in you making the postseason or not if Deshaun gets hurt or something like that. Which young quarterback I'm not going to call them a bust, but which second chance, journeyman, whatever you want to call it, we're not going to call him a bust yet. Would you rather give one more shot to Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? Weigh in, tell us in the comments section. ZW for Zach Wilson, TL for Trey Lance. Weigh in, tell me what you think, which quarterback you rather roll with for one last go-round. Final trade idea, the Arizona Cardinals moving on from Isaiah Simmons, moving him to the Minnesota Vikings and getting a third-round pick in exchange. Isaiah Simmons, former first-round pick, a Clemson Tiger, played his high school ball in Olathe, Kansas. I think Isaiah Simmons is a fine football player. 99 tackles, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. I think Simmons has got the potential to be a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker in this league. Kind of like what we've talked about on this channel with the Kyler Murray situation, the Arizona Cardinals, why you could be looking to move on from Simmons, as you've done with others, is you are resetting the clock. You are starting over. Simmons doesn't necessarily align with the timeline of the Arizona Cardinals. Don't necessarily think they probably want to pay Isaiah Simmons. So you might as well want to get something. Now, when it comes to these off-ball linebackers, their trade value has kind of dipped a bit over the last couple of years. And so Simmons, although he's a former first-round pick, I think you can probably get a third-round pick for him in the Vikings. Now, let's talk about the Vikings end of things. This is a team that has had their problems, right, when it comes to defense. They gave up a lot of points last year. Isaiah Simmons could help that team a long way. So there you have it. That's our trade ideas. Let's go back through them one by one. We showed you the first one there. Jonathan Taylor, couple picks. Trade idea 2, straight up, Patrick Queen and Chase Young potentially. What about Trey Lance and a 4th-round pick there? Zach Wilson, 7th-round pick. Could we see Zach Wilson in Cleveland? And then Isaiah Simmons potentially going to Minnesota. What do you guys think? Weigh in the comments section. Tell me what you think. We'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. Wow. Glad I got through that cut before sneezing.
That was unbelievable timing.
It just hit me like all at once.
At least I know where to cut the video now.
Yes. Very easy. That was close. That was very close. I have had to stop a video to sneeze before. But, you know what? We made it through that one there.
All right, chat, pick one to add. Who we got here? Chase Young, CY, Patrick Queen, PQ. Throw something in the chat. I'm seeing some from the previous poll, Trey Lance, which is pretty sweet. I would probably take Trey Lance over Zach Wilson as well.
I'd take Trey Lance.
And listen, just for the sole fact that he's more physically imposing, probably takes hits a little better than Zach Wilson does.
Let's see. Chase Young seemed to be the consensus over Patrick Queen. And you're about to put up a new poll question. We about to ask the people this?
Yeah. We're gonna do the Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, I think.
Okay, let's ask the folks. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, what guy would you rather roll with? The sample size on Trey Lance is much smaller than it is with Zach Wilson. I'll say this. Zach Wilson has shown me enough to say I'm good. Trey Lance, the sample size is still small enough I can convince myself to give him one more shot.
I agree. Although one of them has a pretty good mentor in their QB room for this season, Zach Wilson does. Trey Lance, on the other hand, he just has the same guys who have been around, plus Sam Darnold.
Which guy would you rather have? So far, 1 vote for Trey Lance, 2 votes for Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think this could be a landslide. Zach Wilson gets a bad rap. I think he's got a chance to succeed, and I kind of say that with a lot of people because I don't want anybody to fail at the NFL because they work so hard to get there. But Zach Wilson has not looked like the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
Worthy.
Let's get to top free agents coming up next.
Yeah, we will.
Did I just skip over that segment?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, totally.
Oh, that's on me.
That's all right.
Got a little ahead of myself.
I pivoted.
Thanks for adjusting on the fly accordingly.
That's what it's all about.
But we will go over top free agents still remaining. After Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott both signed, we'll weigh in and tell you who are some of the best players available and where they could possibly end up in our top free agent segment coming up next here on NFL Daily. I still can't get over the timing of that sneeze.
It was pretty good. I have to admit, you did solid there.
Let's see. AT says Zach Wilson's family's scary enough
That is true.
of any NFL GM to walk away. Zach Wilson, though, does his family include his mom's friends?
Are they qualified as family now? I don't know. That's that question you're probably going to have to ask Zach.
Right?
Probably going to have to ask Zach that question.
Is he going to end up with one of his mom's friends? Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
Or is that a phase that Zach ended?
Man,
I'm very curious how that's going to go.
we all go through that phase, right? No.
Oh, we've all been there.
Maybe we don't.
We've all been there. Nonetheless, final segment. Top free agents available. Who's still out there after Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott signed? I'm ready to go. Smitty, are you ready?
I'm more than ready. Let's do this thing.
Last
segment. Let's go.
Last segment. Hold up those fours. Fourth quarter, fourth segment. Let's get after it here at NFL Daily. NFL Daily by Chat Sports today is looking at the top free agents that are still available after Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott signed. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our top free agents list. And the player that we have to begin with, of course, is none other than Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Clowney has talked to the Ravens. He's talked to the Jags. And the big concern with Clowney isn't the talent level. I think we all can sit here and say that Clowney still has a lot to offer. But can he stay healthy? That is the million-dollar question for the former number 1 overall pick and 3-time Pro Bowler. Dalton Reisner is still available at this point in time, formerly the Denver Broncos, and this is a guy that has had a decent career to this point. He is a starting caliber offensive guard, but still waiting for a place to call home after he was replaced by Ben Powers in Denver. Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram has had a good career. He's been a journeyman the last few seasons, but still has been able to manage a lot of sacks over that stretch as well. And with Melvin Ingram, the best thing you can say about him, about what he's been able to do in his career, is been able to plug and play. He's changed teams mid-season and still made an impact one way or the other. So I expect the same from Melvin Gordon wherever he goes. Our pin comment today, who's the best free agent left right now? We're going to all of these names, but I want to hear from you guys first. Sound off in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Who is the best free agent left at this point in time? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Next on our list, we'll go to the corner position. That's where we find Bryce Callahan, formerly the Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. And one team I would watch for with Callahan is the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, that team has been banged up. Rock Ya-Sin's hurt. Trayvon Mullins out for the year. They have taken a lot of stabs at that corner position. They're looking for options. Bryce Callahan could be the answer they're looking for. Another former teammate of Callahan, Ronald Darby, is still available at this point as well. Darby, I think that with him, similar situation to Callahan, where Baltimore comes to mind, and other teams out there, that anyone that's looking for a corner, these guys could both play at a relatively cheap price somewhere. Next on the list, we find Kareem Hunt at the running back position. Kareem Hunt recently had visits with the Saints, the Vikings, and the Colts. And if all things were equal, I think Kareem Hunt makes a lot of sense for the Minnesota Vikings to be their number 2 running back. Remember, he's been a number 2 running back the last few years, so his body is fresher than most players of his age and of his talent level. And of those teams that have looked at him, that is the team that has the best chance to compete with an already dynamic offense there with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and company. Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry hasn't been the same player the last few seasons that he was when he was in Cleveland and Miami prior to that. But here's a guy in Jarvis Landry that throughout his career has been effective in the slot, been a good possession receiver. He's not going to look for a lot of money at this point, but Jarvis Landry is a guy that I think could if the main thing is can he stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he can have an impact and get you, I still think, 500 or 600 yards potentially for your offense there. Matt Ioannidis, who's at the defensive tackle spot. Ioannidis is a guy that was recently with Carolina. He was also with the Washington Commanders, and I am shocked he is still available in free agency at this point in time. I think Ioannidis is starting caliber, that Ioannidis would be a nice fit wherever he goes. And you take a team like Seattle, for example, that doesn't have a clear answer what they're going to do in the interior of the defensive line. Look for Ioannidis potentially there. Kyle Van Noy is another option. Van Noy, a very good pass rusher, won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, was on their all-decade team, won a couple Super Bowls, rather, with the Patriots. What does he still have left in the tank? Quite a lot, actually. I think that Kyle Van Noy is going to be a difference maker wherever he goes, potentially. If you are looking for a pass rusher of sorts, Kyle Van Noy could be a good fit. I expect him to sign before the season begins. Let's ask you about Kyle Van Noy now. Where will Kyle Van Noy sign in NFL free agency? Give me one team in the comment section that comes to mind where you think Kyle Van Noy could go. Weigh in, predict it for me, who it is in the comment section. Let me know where you think Van Noy ends up. One guy that might not have a home when the season begins is Leonard Fournette. It has been an up-and-down career for Leonard Fournette as he began with the Jacksonville Jaguars as they spent a top pick on him, top 3 pick to be exact, when he was coming out of LSU. And things didn't necessarily work out with the Jags as they would have hoped. He goes to Tampa Bay, gets paired up with Tom Brady. Wasn't much of a receiving back when he showed up, but Tom Brady turned him into one and was a nice threat. We've seen him slow down a little bit, but could still have something to offer somebody as a good number 2 back potentially. But I will say this, am not expecting that a deal gets done anytime soon for Leonard Fournette. Kareem Hunt will get signed first, and then Fournette could potentially sign after that. When NFL free agents sign to a new team, we cover it here on NFL Dailies. We're talking about the NFL, get this, every day, daily, here on the channel with news and rumors. We'll also do our live shows from time to time. We also are doing our Red Zone channel throughout the season. Stay up to date with the latest happenings across the National Football League. We're live when we have our trade deadline shows, free agency periods, the draft. We have it all covered here on the channel. If you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Next on the list we find is Chris Wormley available, still trying to find a home of some sorts. Meanwhile, center Ben Jones, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, is out there. I think in Ben Jones's case, I would expect him to be one of those guys that steps in when we see an injury to an interior lineman, to a center of some sorts, that Ben Jones will have his name called pretty quickly to get a job. Casey Hayward, haven't talked about Casey Hayward in a minute. He's still out there at this point, but some of those other corners that we mentioned, like Bryce Callahan and Ronald Darby, probably get that phone call before he does. Carlos Dunlap at the defensive end spot. Dunlap's had a really good career with his time in Kansas City, in Seattle, and some of those other teams. He is still a very good pass rusher. I think he can still play at a high level, but guys like Melvin Ingram and others are going to, and Kyle Van Noy are going to get that call before Carlos Dunlap does. And then there's Hakeem Hicks, who most recently we've seen him with the Bucks, formerly with the New York Giants. He is going to be another one of those guys that is going to be a last-minute phone call, but still could find somewhere to play before the season begins on that front. So there you have it. That is all of the free agents that are still available at this point in time. Personally, I think Clowney, Reisner, Van Noy, those are the guys I'm expecting to get their phone calls first. Kareem Hunt as well, to get a deal done, to show up and play before this season begins. If you made it to the end of today's video, you guys are the absolute best. We certainly appreciate you. We can't do this without you. Spam Real One in the comments section if you made it to the end, and we shall see you next time right here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again. All right. We are through all of our segments today. Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Smitty, you made it through your first show. How you feel?
I did. I guess I should type real one right now. I've made it to the end of today's show. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a great time.
Let's shout out all the people saying real one. Just
yeah,
Jackson,
let's do it.
Ilona, spam real one in the chat. We'll give some shout outs. Let's see. Michael says Uncle TT in 2022. What does that mean, Michael? I don't know what you mean by that. Let's see. Just Jackson, Ilona, thanks for joining the chat. Spam Real One will show you some love here on NFL Daily. Ilona says, Real One, this is fun. I had a fun time today. Did you have a fun time today, Smitty?
I had a great time. I love talking ball any time of the day, and who better to do with total strangers on a stream? I love it.
All right, Just Jackson, Real One as well. Folks, thanks for being here with us. I'm going to put the sub link in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to Chat Sports, I don't know what you're waiting for. Because we're talking NFL every day. We do these live shows. We do our Red Zone channel. We do all sorts of NFL stuff here. Turn on notifications and join us for our next live show. Got another Real One in the chat as well. M. Miller 96 Real One. AT says St. Louis Rams win. Get the other teams in the league to spend some money. Or I ask you not to say St. Louis can't still support a team. So the St. Louis Rams. I did not have that on my bingo card today. Win the team super chat battle.
Yeah.
Thank you, AT, and RIP to the St. Louis Rams. It was a good run. M. Miller 96 says I miss Mitchell Renz. Renz is on Raiders. Go check him out on Raiders Report. He's still around. He hasn't gone anywhere. Sublinks in the chat. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you next time. For Tyler Smith, I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great one. Thanks for joining us here on NFL Daily.